These are the books that I have rated 5 stars so far in 2025. And also I'm going to bring you a list of the books that I am most excited about coming out in the second half of the year. Hello, welcome or welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I'm Sinead and this is my spooky corner of YouTube where I talk about the spooky books that I've read, the spooky films that I've watched, and the spooky things that I attempt to do every day. Well, some days. Some days it's less spooky, it's just sort of sitting staring at a wall and watching Below Deck at the wall. I will also say welcome back to the sauna that I've apparently created, which is my recording studio. Painting these walls raven green black seemed like a great idea in the winter. I know you all came here for hardcore fan action. As requested by a few people, I'm going to go through all of the books that I've read so far in 2025, now that we've hit, well, July, so we're more than halfway through the year. These are all the books that I rated 5 star and I am keeping at 5 stars. And there's one or two that have nudged up the list as well, that on reflection I've gone, no, that was pretty solid. There are currently 9 books that are sitting at 5 stars on my list, but there's a bunch of 4 stars, 4.5 stars as well, and 3 and 3.5 star books that I would absolutely recommend. If you want to keep up with what I'm reading, what I'm planning to read, I do have a Goodreads account and that link is in the description of this video. At the moment, I just put my star ratings on Goodreads as a log for myself. I haven't done the written reviews in there yet, but it is something I'm planning to do pretty soon, and it's possible that in the future I will have a Patreon account or somewhere that people can go to have more in-depth written versions of what I've been babbling about. On the subject of reviews and also these videos, for those who need it, I talk about the books that I've read and I'm going to talk about the plots. I'm not going to give away huge spoilers of the plot, but some people feel that any hint beyond what is in the blurb of the book can be a spoiler in itself, but I can only express my thoughts and my opinions and my feelings about the books, and that may give little hints of things that are going to happen in the stories. I think most people get that, but just to assure that me talking about books is me sharing my love and enthusiasm for it and enthusiasm for the way the stories develop. If I ever am going to share a major plot twist, I will put spoiler across the screen. On to the books that I've read so far. All of the books that I mentioned have either been included in my monthly wrap-ups or there may be a dedicated mini review in my shorts if you want to check those out. Things are shaping up pretty well. Things are shaping up pretty well for 2025. My first 5-star read of the year was Crypt of the Moon Spider. I got an uncorrected proof of this, and I have so many lights in this office that it's bouncing off this very shiny cover, but hopefully you can see this. But as ever, I'm going to put the book images up here and up there because I don't like to hold these and then you get a clear picture, and you know the magic of YouTube. I read this in February. This is a Gothic novella. It has got elements of cosmic horror in it, which is not normally my sort of thing. It is about a Victorian mental asylum, and this asylum is on the moon. You could say this is steampunk territory, but it's an alternate Victorian world where this asylum is based on the moon. The reason that it's based on the moon is because of the moon spider. The silk of the moon spider has healing properties, and this asylum is using them for a revolutionary technique to repair anyone's brain if they are suffering from the melancholia, from the sads, from the please shush, we're Victorian, you need to just pipe down. If the premise of that sounds wild, it is but a hint of what is to come in this book. It is a very short book, as I've said, but it was packed with incredibly visceral, gory images, yet it was beautiful. That's the best way I can describe this book. It has an excellent characterization all the way through. I love the way that the plot is layered in ways that you don't expect. It becomes clear the further you go into this book why certain voices are being heard, why they are being linked. I so enjoyed this for a completely crazy, weird, horror meets science fiction and Victoriana and steampunk in the best way possible. It is Gothic to its core. I love the inventiveness of it. If you are not a fan of spiders, do not read this book. I don't love horror that leans too much into gore, but I don't mind body horror, weirdly, because body horror, particularly in a Gothic setting, can be quite inventive, and it's more about exploring psychological impacts as well as the physical horror of what it is to be a woman, what it is to be a human being. I think this book does it very well. It was so entertaining, and the sequel to this is coming out later this year. An easy 5 stars. Next up was a delicious sapphic vampire tale. It is Hungerstone, a book that is getting a lot of praise, and I do urge people to read it because it is not only a great story, but it was very well written, in my opinion. Hungerstone is a retelling, a reimagining of the classic vampire story Carmilla by Sheridan Le Fanu. If you've not read Carmilla, it's a great opportunity to read it now. It's short, it's inventive, it's sensual, it's scary. It's such a good story. Now, Hungerstone is not a straight adaptation of Carmilla in a different setting. It's sort of inspired, it's reimagined. What we have is our protagonist Lenore. What a great Gothic name, Lenore. Lenore is married to a successful industrialist. On the outside, yes, their marriage is very, very good. She brings status to the marriage. They are wealthy-ish, and they seem to be the perfect couple, but they are experiencing difficulties. Lenore is a very capable wife and is a very capable society wife, but she's definitely feeling a sense of loss inside her, a hollowness, a hunger. In keeping with the inspirational original novel, the couple are travelling to Hungerstone, to their estate in the north of England, when they encounter a wrecked carriage and a woman in white lying in the road, the enigmatic Carmilla. They are compelled to take Carmilla back to their property so she can recuperate. Carmilla is truly beautiful, she is mysterious, she speaks in riddles, she fascinates Lenore and she fascinates the people around her. She is a burden to these people who want to get on with having their society marriage and their society life, even though Lenore is desperately unhappy, but she represents something other to them. In the backdrop, there are people in the area around the estate who are experiencing strange illnesses and an uncontrollable hunger. That is as far as I will go in the story of Hungerstone. If you know Carmilla, you can guess some of the directions it goes in, and it also goes in completely new ones, completely different ones. The best thing about Hungerstone is this depiction of female rage and female hunger. Female rage is splashed across so many books these days. So many books like, yeah, it's a story of female rage, and that's great. It's great to see women getting angry and shouting, but this is a great Gothic take on it because you have Lenore as a woman of society, of means. She's not stupid, she's not ineffectual, she's very well written in that sense, but that feeling of anger, of hunger, of that want, because so much is not right in her life, and also of desire for something other, whether that's a person, whether that's your feelings, that's emotion, whether that's life itself. I thought it was so well written in Hungerstone, and it is a very good story. It's a compelling plot. There are threads of mystery and intrigue, and you don't really know what's happening, and it builds to a great conclusion. Hungerstone, if you are a Gothic fiction fan, needs to be on your list. I started listening to the audio of Hungerstone. I've just realised I have the hard copy. Isn't she elegant? She's so pretty. Next up, it's not one for anyone who is squeamish about eyes, but it is one for anyone who loves a little bit of body horror, but great family stories with a very good social commentary. It is The Eyes Are the Best Part. This is my hard copy. I listened to this on audio, but I had to get a copy of this because I absolutely adored this book. And yeah, this is a lot less gruesome than the US cover. The Eyes Are the Best Part is told from the perspective of Ji-won, a Korean-American girl whose family life has been turned upside down because at the beginning of the book, her father has left her mother, leaving Ji-won, her younger sister, and her mother alone. And her mother is in absolute turmoil at having been abandoned. She communicates through food, the opening line being, "The eyes are the best part," in a reference to some fish dishes that they are eating together. Ji-won is trying to hold her family together while have her own life, but her mother starts dating a white man. And this white man's presence in the family unit is pretty... I don't know how to describe it. The ick is huge with this new boyfriend. He is a white man who feels he is completely in touch with Asian culture. I mean, he knows all about Korea and Korean women. He actually knows loads about China and just thinks that that's the same thing. This incredibly arrogant white man, but he is giving Ji-won's mother relief, and she is convinced that he's the one. Now, I've said a lot about the family setup. You're going, isn't this a horror about eyes? Yes, Ji-won, at the same time as dealing with the fallout of what's happening at home, trying to support her teenage sister and do her own studies, is developing a very strange fixation with eyes, with blue eyes. The new boyfriend has blue eyes, and these are sort of coming into her mind and her thoughts more regularly, and she's worried about, and we're worried with her, how this fascination is going to manifest, and this wanting to touch them and maybe taste them. The Eyes Are the Best Part, again, is marketed as body horror about someone who has a fascination with eyes and possibly Yeah, but it's so much more than that. And I didn't know what to expect when I started this book. I listened to the audio of it, and the audio narration is absolutely superb. I thought this was going to be a straight up body horror, but the family element of it really struck me. It's not just about the fact that the father has left and how sad that is. It's immediately the mother's fixation with it. She needs to date a white man, and white men are better, and that will solve all their problems. And you're immediately confronted with this mixture of what the father had expected for his daughters, what he'd expected raising them in America, what the mother's expectation is of white men, various examples of racism, of fetishization of Asian women from every country, from every culture by white people, the assumptions that are being made. I like the way Ji-won's fascination with eyes manifested, that these creeping, upsetting images just start permeating everyday life. It felt very unsettling, and it was good. It didn't sort of wait for a huge climactic moment for her, this person that you actually quite like as a protagonist, as our narrator. She's relatable, you know, you really like her, and then there's these jarring moments of what's wrong with her, what is going on, and what's real here. And also, there are so many people you love to hate in this book, and it was just such an enjoyable read for difficult subject matter, for really icky, cringy moments in it, not just about the eyes, about the people. It's the kind of book for girls. When you read it, you'll have met some of the men in this book, and this book just exceeded all my expectations because it was so much more than just a horror story about eyes. I loved it. Next up, my 5-star read for pure penny dreadful enjoyment, indulgence, just love up and down and back and forth. It was The Butcher's Daughter, the hitherto untold story of Mrs. Lovett. I received an advance copy of this on Kindle. I would like to get a hard copy of it. If you were just looking for that penny dreadful, Victoriana, Gothic, indulgent story, this book is it. This got a 5-star for me for enjoyment factor because it was so satisfying and indulgent and just delicious to read. Given the subject matter, delicious may be an interesting choice of word. It is an epistolary novel. Every time I get that right now. Yay, one day it'll fail me. But yes, this book is told in a series of letters, it's told in newspaper transcripts, of documents. You start off understanding a journalist has been searching for the elusive, the famed, the mysterious Mrs. Lovett of the Sweeney Todd story fame. Looking for her, but this journalist has disappeared. And the officers investigating her case uncover letters that she has been writing to someone who was staying in a convent and she was corresponding with. And this person says, I don't know where Mrs. Lovett is, but let me tell you some stories as we go. And then you have this story unfolding. In this, you end up getting Mrs. Lovett's story, her entire backstory from her childhood, from her adulthood, from the trials that she has faced, her meeting with Sweeney Todd. But this is very much Mrs. Lovett's tale. It is not about Sweeney Todd is in this story, but he takes a back seat. He has gotten too much press. It's Mrs. Lovett's story, and it is told in wonderful, lurid, exciting detail. You're swept up and caught up in her story, but then suddenly through the book, you'll get a document or another letter that is throwing everything you know into question. You're wondering what's actually going on. I use the words penny dreadful in terms of the old penny dreadful books that people consumed and loved and devoured in the Victorian era. But if you love the TV series Penny Dreadful, oh yeah, The Butcher's Daughter will give you the feels. It's a book that could easily have been trashy, could have been popcorn, could have been thrown away, but I was hooked from start to finish, and every little trope and every little technique that was used in there, I appreciated and was clapping yes for an enjoyable, juicy read. I love The Butcher's Daughter. Next up was a book that may end up being one of the top books of 2025. It's a book that I keep thinking about, I keep coming back to, I've raved about it again and again. I listened to it on audio, another great audiobook, but I also just ordered a special edition of this book. I'm not one for doing trophy books of audiobooks. That's where people, as soon as you listen to the audiobook, you need to buy a hard copy. That is prohibitively expensive for so many people. It's not so I have something on my shelf, but yeah, the special edition of this book is so pretty. It's Bat Eater. I'm going to get that closer. This is a special edition by Evernight. They're not sponsoring me. I paid for this with my own money, with my own 2 hands. Look at the inlay. But the cover underneath the jacket, you can see what's quite cute is that they've got the sort of original cover underneath the dust jacket. Bat Eater and Other Names for Cora Zhang, to give it its full title, is a story that is set in the pandemic. It's not a pandemic heavy book, but it's an important background. It is the story of Cora Zhang, a Chinese American woman who is living in America. She's been living with her sister for a very long time, her far more successful sister. And at the beginning of the book, her sister is murdered because a masked unknown assailant pushes her in front of a subway train. The assailant says nothing other than the words Bat Eater. Months later, Cora is trying to come to terms with her sister's death, actually trying to find out what happened to her because the case and investigation has gone nowhere. But she's now been hired privately as a crime scene cleaner. She is responsible with her colleagues to go in and clean up crime scenes after terrible, terrible murders have been committed. But she starts to notice something. She notices something at the first crime scene we find her at. She notices something that is indicating a strange pattern with what might be happening with these murders. I don't want to say much more than that. At the same time, this is at the backdrop of the Hungry Ghost Festival that her aunt is very keen she embraces and that she gets involved with. The Hungry Ghost Festival is something I learned about through this book, and I encourage people to go and look it up because it's fascinating, and I don't want to do it a disservice by trying to explain it because it's not my culture. But the Hungry Ghost Festival is a period of time each year where the dead can return to the earth. The dead of your loved ones would turn to earth, same sort of way as Samhain, but in a different manner. And the living should leave tokens for them. They should observe certain rituals to appease the ghost, to show your respect, and also to make sure the ghost don't get hungry. And it seems that Cora might be being haunted by something. That's pretty much the blurb that you get with Bat Eater, the book. And when I read the back of it, I was like, okay, fine, I'm hooked, I'm interested. The book has so much going on in it. It's one of those books that I was worried for a time, like when I was reading through going, wow, there's all sorts of layers going on. Is this going to deliver? And it absolutely does. It is a great murder mystery book. It is a great story of a haunting. The ghosts in this are fantastic. They are beautifully realized. It's a very funny book in many respects because of Cora and her friendships that she develops with her colleagues at the crime scene cleaning company who support her, who are there for her, their interactions, what she is trying to do to appease ghosts, to appease herself, to come to terms with the past, her relationships with people around her. As I said, layer upon layer, but it's done so well. It gives such richness to this story that is sad, that is funny, that is gruesome, and that is frightening. It's also a very good commentary on the way that Chinese people, anyone Asian, was treated during the pandemic. The impression that people had that if you are from China, you are somehow responsible for what has happened. And the author in the back of the book as well does a very good afterword, and I encourage people to read it. There are scenes of ghostly horror in here and unforgettable scenes around the dinner table, one bit, and there's horrors of what society will turn a blind eye to. A wonderful book that I urge people to read. Listen to the audio if you want. Yes, that special edition is there. I'll put a link in the description if anyone is interested in it. A book that I loved and still am thinking about, Bat Eater, absolutely 5 stars. This is your friendly reminder to please like this video and subscribe to my channel so I can keep bringing you more spooky book recommendations and recommendations of films and other things that you might enjoy based on the other stuff that I'm doing. It's all a rich tapestry. Next up. Ooh, I need to go back to the shelf. Is it up here? What did I do with it? I don't know. Next up, this is a book that I have bumped up to 5 stars. I feel like it's 5 stars. It was 4-star, 4.5 for me, but it's still up there with one of my top reads because it's insane. It's The Library at Hellebore by Cassandra Cole. As I've mentioned in other reviews, if you know their work, if you have read The Salt Grows Heavy, I have not read Nothing But Blackened Teeth yet, but you know the style in which they write. It is lyrical and it is dreamlike, but it's these crazy stories that are incredibly visceral, and yes, they have body horror in them, yes, they have gore, but they're beautiful at the same time. Library at Hellebore, Cassandra Cole's work, will not be for everyone, because you open the page and you read it and you go, whoa, you're confronted with scenes of horror in quite in a distinctive prose, in a distinctive tone of voice. If you like it when you read that first page, strap yourself in, you're in for a hell of a ride. The Library at Hellebore is dark academia. I have my issues with dark academia, but this one does okay. A dark academia with a twist, because it is about the Hellebore Institute, where in this world that we are in, there are people who are born with magic, and this magic can be incredibly destructive. It's not your HP setting. It's not your, oh my goodness, I'm a chosen one and we shall manage to control these little cute little spells. No, no, no. The people who go to this institute have the sort of power that can eviscerate, that can cause Ragnaroks, that can destroy towns and people and do weird stuff with you. And the idea is that these people are gathered and taken to this institute to help to control them. They're not. They're stolen, they're kidnapped, they're brought there. And some bad shit starts to go down immediately at the institute. It turns out that the faculty would like to eat the students. That's on the blurb, that's there. And the students are going to have to fight for their lives to fend them off. This is mad, it is crazy, it is grim and gross and beautiful. And it's just a story that you can't shake away because there's nothing else like that out there, I don't think. There's very few writers out there like Cassandra Khaw who manages to create these worlds that are bizarre and dreamlike and strange and gory and horrifying, yet compelling. This felt like immersive theatre when you were reading it. You kind of were so immersed in the world and these scenes and the way it is written, you're just bang in the middle of the action, the drama, the feelings, the sights and the sounds, but you don't know what's going on. You don't know what's happening, and you're sort of crawling through and piecing it together, and then you sort of come away at the end going, oh no, I get it now. I think there was a lot going on in this book, and there are points where you may sort of lose it. There's a few timeline jumps, and that's what sort of held me back initially from giving it a 5-star. But really for originality and for a very well done book, yeah, it's up there. Again, I haven't stopped thinking about it and have recommended it to so many people, as in, please just read this, see what you think. It's a what the fuck is going on book, but it's done very well. Another one for my shelf. I keep forgetting they're on my shelf. It is When the Wolf Comes Home, Nat Cassidy. This was a highly anticipated release for 2025. Nat Cassidy, who wrote Nestlings, who wrote Mary, which is up on my shelf, and I loved Mary. Very popular horror writer. I think everyone in the horror community, loads of reviewers that I am following, were sort of waiting for this book. This is the one they're like, is it going to deliver? And I read it, and I absolutely think it did. I think it's brilliant and a lot. When the Wolf Comes Home is the story of a young woman. At the start, she is a struggling actress. She is working in a diner. She has to leave work early because something happens, and I'm not going to say what it is because I don't want to give away too many spoilers, but the thing that gets her to leave the diner and puts her in peril is a master stroke. I absolutely loved what happened there. She rushes out of her diner. She's got to be somewhere. She's got to do something. And she, at her apartment, finds this young boy out in the bushes outside her apartment. She tries to help him, and the boy's father turns up, and the boy's father is standing there naked, and then very, very quickly transforms into a monster in front of her, in front of the neighbours. And from that point, all hell breaks loose. We have this woman who is now responsible for this child. To get away from this monster, she's got her own things that she has to deal with, but they're thrown together in that sort of classic trope of a stranger and then a child, like, oh my god, we're going to get on. Very well done, and this starts this really high adrenaline, high octane, thrilling, inventive road trip, race against time, thrilling story of these two being chased, trying to escape different horrors that are after them, trying to understand what is happening, trying to help each other. It is very well done for that sort of story. I'm not usually one for like, oh, an adult has to be thrown together with a child. Oh, they're not going to get on. It's a really nice relationship. It's inventive. The horrors in it, what is happening is creative. I really liked the direction that it went in. I liked the nods to different types of horror film, different horror books that you've read. There are really great scenes in it. You won't look at the Halloween section of your local Target or your local supermarket again without maybe getting a shiver. You won't watch Who Framed Roger Rabbit in the same way at all. If you want that high octane blockbuster in a horror book feel, and to really be carried along with a story that does have heart to it and a lot of horror, this book is it. I had feelings about different parts of the book. There were a couple of things where I was like, did I love that? What do I think of it? But it was a book that just made me think, made me want to ponder it and discuss it and go over it. But as a sum of its parts, as a really entertaining book that didn't let up, it absolutely delivered. When the Wolf Comes Home, I think, is wonderful. Then I came to a book that at the time I was thinking, this is God tier, because I was so impressed by this book. It has been a little while now that I've decompressed. I still think this is a fabulous book. I am still struck by it. I will still be recommending it, and it will not be for everyone, but it's Carrion Crow. This is not horror as in supernatural or spooky. It is the horrors of humanity. It's the horrors of relationships. It is truly a Gothic tale, and it was a fantastic piece of literature about femininity, about mother and daughter relationships, about what it is to exist. It really, really got to me. Carrion Crow, in short, is the story of a young woman, Marguerite, who has been locked in the attic of her family home by her mother. Her mother, who insists that she needs to stay up there to study these books that she's given her, the book of Mrs. Beeton's Guide to Household Management, because Marguerite wants to marry. And her mother informs her that she must learn the ways of a proper wife in society. She must make sure that she is up to date with how to run a household, how to prepare meals, how to sew, how to learn these things. She needs to stay and improve her education before the marriage can take place. This book is set in the late 1800s, by the way. Marguerite agrees to this, but she's in this tiny, cramped attic that is falling apart. She's in there, and the book starts with this almost sort of, not quite stream of consciousness, but Marguerite explaining her situation and how she goes through each day, and the letters she's writing to her fiancé on the outside. It's immediately unsettling. It's immediately uncomfortable. And yet, the way that the story unfolds, when you read about what Marguerite is doing, it is strangely compelling, because you're wondering, why is she in this attic? Now, this book becomes grotesque at points because Marguerite has a fascination with her own body, with her bodily functions, with what her body can produce, and that is detailed in there, and it's gag-inducing at parts, without ever feeling OTT, without being gratuitous. Really weird to say that it's grotesque but not gratuitous. It is just simply laid out, and you go at moments. Within the story, you also get the backstory of her mother, where she has come from, her route through society. And it's fascinating. It's such a fascinating story. It's simple, but fascinating story, the way it is told, of different levels of class structure, you know, what it is like to come from a working class or sort of a self-made sort of position versus landed gentry, mother-daughter relationships, the toxicity of love, what love looks like, how people communicate, what is your love language, how do you convey your feelings and your emotions, what women in that society would have been expected to just deal with no information, with no communication that we take for granted now, even though so many of us talk about, I'm sure, we all need to talk more, we all need to communicate more, the lack of information and real understanding. That's what really struck me about this book. I could gab about it for ages, and it may sound very confusing, everything I'm saying here, because you're getting, what? There's a woman locked in the attic, and what's going on here? There was so much to like about this book, and there's so much that I really, really appreciated in the writing style, the way the story unfolded. It is inspired by a real true crime case as well. You open it and you read the first few pages and you think it's for you. Please do give Carrion Crow a go. It is grotesque. It won't be for everyone, but I adored it. And the final, so far, 5-star read of 2025 was a book that has come out, that did come out in 2023, I believe, but I only read it this year. It's The Reformatory. I have done reviews on The Reformatory. This is the most recent review that I've done. I have done a short about it, explaining it. I explained it in my June wrap-up. The Reformatory, the story of a young black boy and his sister. They are living in 1950s Florida, Jim Crow era, and the boy is sent to a reformatory school for kicking a white boy who was making advances at his sister. This school is haunted by the spirits of the boys who never left for upsetting reasons. Robbie, our protagonist, he is able to communicate with these ghosts, but he is trying to survive in this reformatory that is just a ball of tension, while his sister on the outside is fighting to get his sentence reduced, or just to get him out of there. This is historical fiction with horror in it. It is tense from the start. It's not relentlessly bleak. As I've said before, I'll say it again. It's oddly just compelling and so good to read, even though it is about racism and it has some terrible, terrible scenes in it. It's very powerful, and it's a very nicely done book where you have such scenes of horror without making it just unbearably depressing and relentless. I put off reading the book because I thought it was going to be like that. I thought I wasn't going to be able to cope, and actually It was so satisfying a book to read. Definitely put it on your list if you've been thinking about the reformatory at all. It's the time to get it. Those are my 5-star reads of 2025 so far. But maybe we should look ahead to the rest of 2025 and the things that I am most excited about. Book-wise, not just excited in general. I'm excited about a lot of things. I'm excited when my cats come in. If the camera angles change, it's because I had to change the battery. This is, of course, not an exhaustive list of every book that's coming out in the latter half of this year, because that would be impossible. These are just the books that I've got my eye on based on the author, based on the description, or some of them I have been fortunate enough to read already, so I'm excited to see what you think about them. Oh, the sauna is not cooling down in here. Oh, I'm going to have the biggest margarita when this is finished. What are you going to be drinking? So at the time of filming this, I am filming this in July, and July actually is a month for some great horror releases. One of them is How to Survive a Horror Story by Mallory Arnold. This is a book I've already read. I have reviewed it before. It was a solid 4.5 star for me. It almost became a 5-star because of how enjoyable I found it. Little niggles about it, but this is out now, hopefully for some people, and I absolutely loved it. It is the story of several horror writers. They're all different genre of horror writers, and they are called to the will reading of one of the greatest horror writers of all time at his mansion. But is it simply a will reading, or are they going to have to try and survive the night because of all of the spooky things that he's put in his house? And oh my goodness. How to Survive a Horror Story may sound over the top, and it is, and it delivers. It was a very enjoyable setup. If you like your horror stories with lots of drama, with lots of horror, with lots of ghosts, with incredibly, inventive scenery and settings, it will give you that. I've compared it to And Then There Were None with bits of Knives Out territory. It absolutely is that. It's indulgent and it's enjoyable. July also sees the release of The Bewitching, the latest book by Sylvia Moreno-Garcia, she of Mexican Gothic fame. Sylvia Moreno-Garcia has written so many books that are beloved by so many, and Mexican Gothic is up there in one of the books that you see pop up in horror reviewers' lists of like, do you want a really good indulgent Gothic but with a twist tale? But this isn't about Mexican Gothic, this is about The Bewitching. It's giving slight wayward vibes. It is 3 women from 3 different eras experiencing witchcraft. It's got folk horror elements. I've seen that pop up in some of the descriptions. It's also been described as a multi-generational saga, which puts me off a little bit, but it's got witchcraft in it and all these lives intertwined. I think I'll give it a go. This is a debut novel, but the description caught me. It's Mayra. This is a horror set in Florida's swampland. A young woman is called to see her friend who she hasn't seen in years in her home in the Florida Everglades, and when she arrives it's very mysterious and it's very spooky. I've read the description on Goodreads and it is giving me Southern Gothic vibes. Any haunted house story that has a bit of a different location and not just on a hill with weather, I'm there for it. Into August, I might try my first Darcy Coates book. Darcy Coates is an author that's been recommended, I've seen so many times, prolific writer of ghost stories, of ghostly tales. But in August, a new book is coming out called How Bad Can Things Get? The premise of this one is lavish private island, influencers going to a party. It's giving Fire Island vibes, but there is a legend, a dark secret of the island, and apparently it involves a cult leader. That sounds like something I could get on board with. If you've got a Darcy Coates book that you would really recommend, let me know. August will also see the release of The Fake Ghost by Nuzo Ono. I hope I've pronounced the name correctly. This is a Nigerian writer who also wrote Where the Dead Brides Gather, which was a great horror story. I am still reading that book. I've been dipping into it. Beautifully written, but really inventive ghostly tale. I really like this author's work and I like their style. They dabble in speculative fiction, quite inventive horror, so I'm going to keep an eye out for their next work. Summer brings the heat of a new Isabel Cañas book, The Possession of Alba Diaz. Isabel Cañas, who wrote The Hacienda, which I absolutely adored, absolutely brilliant. She wrote The Vampires of El Norte, which I enjoyed, didn't love quite as much. She does wonderful Gothic tales, wonderful Mexican historical fiction. So this latest book of hers, I'm hoping will make me sing as much as The Hacienda did. As I said, Vampires of El Norte, didn't mind, but I'm still going to read any of her work when it comes out. There is a tingle in my spine because the new Chuck Tingle book is coming out in August, Lucky Day. Chuck Tingle, the famous, legendary Chuck Tingle. If you do not know who Chuck Tingle is, you need to go Google it, and I don't say I didn't warn you. A very respected, very good author wrote Bury Your Gaze last year, which is a brilliant horror about the horrors of the film industry, about an author who is haunted by the creatures he's created. Also wrote Camp Damascus, not read Camp Damascus, but that is a horror around a conversion camp. Chuck Tingle also writes all sorts of other books. all sorts of other books with insane titles. As I said, if you don't know, go look and cleanse your eyes. The premise of this one is it is post-apocalyptic, a woman who has survived an apocalyptic event and things unfold. I immediately am not a massive fan of post-apocalyptic books or dystopia, but Chuck Tingle is so entertaining, I am going to take a look at this when it comes out. September brings many, many good things, people. I have not read Bunny. I know it is highly rated and many people rave about it and they go, this is brilliant and what the hell and oh my god. But the sequel is coming out in September. We Love You, Bunny. This could be a time for me to read Bunny. Would anyone out there recommend it? I have read Rouge by that author and it's very good, very inventive. So if you're a Bunny fan, keep your eyes out. Another book that I read earlier this year, Fiend by Alma Katsu, comes out in September. This is giving horror Succession vibes. It is about a very, very wealthy family that may be possessed or aided by a demon, and it is a scrabble for power. This was a very entertaining book, giving you Eat the Rich vibes. Yes, that Succession feel, very much channeling that, but putting some horror in there. Very enjoyable, pretty quick read as well. It comes out in September. I would say put it on your list. Do I have an arc sitting on my Kindle right now of the next Delilah S. Dawson book? Yes, I do. House of Idyll? Idyll? Not sure if it's meant to be Idyll or Idyll. I'm a huge fan of Delilah S. Dawson. Bloom, Guillotine, absolutely love them. I will be reading this very soon, so I hope to report back and tell you if it is worth the wait, but keep your eyes out for September. What else does September bring? Another Rachel Harrison book. It is Play Nice. This time Rachel Harrison is dabbling in haunted houses. She has in the past done witches, she has done werewolves, she has done vampires, and now it's time for the haunted house. Rachel Harrison, again, one of my favourite authors, so entertaining, so enjoyable. I will read anything that she writes, and I hope this one is a banger. Also out in September, Slashed Beauties. This is the story of some anatomical Venuses. These are wax figures that are possessed and they come alive at night and murder people. The premise of that alone is sending shivers down my spine, and I am also very lucky to have an arc of that sitting on my Kindle. I was approved for a bunch of arcs at once, so I do want to read that pretty soon. This is going to give us great gothic, grim, macabre vibes. People who have read it early have absolutely raved about it. It is a dual timeline, so you've got possessed objects, you've got murder, you've got beautiful imagery. That's what they're saying. I can't wait to tell you what it's like. Another author by author for me, T. Kingfisher, the third installment of the Sworn Soldier series, What Stalks the Deep, also arrives in September. This series started with What Moves the Dead, that retelling of Fall of the House of Usher, which I absolutely adored. It was followed by What Feasts at Night, again, very enjoyable, that same sense of humour and macabre and gothic touches to it that T. Kingfisher just brings so effortlessly to their books. And now we have What Stalks the Deep. What's going to be in the water? What's going to happen? I haven't even looked up the plot of this book. I know I'm going to buy it, and I know I'm going to enjoy it. Into October, fully spooky season. Well, one book that is coming out I will be able to tell you about very soon. It is House of Splinters, and it is the sequel, the follow-up, a continuation of The Silent Companions by Laura Purcell. The Silent Companions, one of my favourite horror books that I have read ever. A great gothic, ghostly, truly terrifying tale, and Laura Purcell has brought out another book in that universe. I'm reading that book at the moment, and so far so good. It's not so much a sequel. All I can say is that it is set in between the two timelines that took place in Silent Companions. If you remember Silent Companions, you have one story in the 1800s, one story in the 1600s, this is in the 1700s. I will report back as soon as I can, but it's a Laura Purcell book. You are in good territory so far. She's a master. And October also brings us The Cathedral of the Drowned, which is the next book from Crypt of the Moon Spider, that 5-star read that I started 2025 with. Yes, that book actually came out in 2024. I absolutely loved it, and we get the story continuing in the next novella, Cathedral of the Drowned. It comes out in October. I can't wait to read it. An author that I see a lot all over my For You page, I see them interacting, and they are a very prolific writer, Gemma Amor. I've not read any of their books yet, but they have a new book coming out, Itch, which is folk horror and it's just got, already the cover, I'm not sure about this, but this is an author I've been meaning to read for a while, and anything that's got a folk horror lilt to it, I think I'll dive in. I may well read some of their other work beforehand, but one to watch out for. That's a rundown of the books that are on my radar so far for the rest of the year. More books keep popping up. There are other things that I will see. I will invariably see someone reviewing something or see something in the shop and go, oh my goodness, and there may be a huge book by a huge horror writer that I've completely forgotten about. I do know Catriona Ward has got a new book coming out, Nowhere Burning, but I don't think that's out until 2026. So many books to look forward to. And if you are able, with any of those books that I've mentioned, if there are any authors where you're like, yeah, I definitely want to read that, do pre-order books where possible. It really helps the authors. And pre-order through your independent bookshops if you can. Based on that, it looks like I've got a lot to be doing for the rest of this year, so goodbye forever. Just kidding. I will be back, and I will be bringing you more reviews of the books as I'm reading them. Check out my shorts if you ever want mini reviews. I'm over on TikTok and on Instagram sharing my updates of books. If you have requests of particular formats of reviews that you'd be interested in and that you would want to engage with me on in future, do leave suggestions in the comments. I'm happy to receive them. Let me know any books that you are really excited for in 2025, and maybe we should do a horror film look ahead for 2025, because there's plenty I have thoughts on there too. Like this video, comment below, send it to a friend, and please subscribe for more content from me in the future. Stay spooky, bye bye.